in you, but that's the only reason why she would. She's not a good person, she's only cute, and this selfish, shallow piece of shit inside of her makes her ugly as sin. Time and time again, I've given her a chance. It almost believed that there was a human inside of her that really fucking cared, but I asked for too much, invested in a hollow, empty shell, the kind that gets filled with superficial trash. Not a soul, no heart. My friend, the monster eats and sleeps and breathes the struggles of individuals just like us, sustained by your grief. My friend, the narcissist only cares about how good you can make her look, emotionally handicapped.
Hey everyone, we are back once again. Are we back? Does it feel like we're back? It feels like we're a little thin here, Jimmy, and I'm not talking about the weight that we both lost.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been putting it back on, but yeah.
I'm so
we,
sorry.
we are missing the cake, you know? I mean, that's it feels unfortunate. I'm missing him. I see my little boy Winston chilling out in the backside. I'm gonna try and finger. There we go. He's right there.
Yep, I
What's
see
up,
him.
little Winston?
Shout out to
Yeah,
Winston.
yeah. So we're not too far down, but my boy Cake's missing again. He started this shit and just runs off all the time. So he's a
Just,
busy man.
just fine, you know. He's got a life, and we gotta respect that by
We don't have one.
by not having a life. It equals
Yeah.
out in the end.
We did spend like a ludicrous amount of time setting up the battle for Miller and stuff too.
Yeah, that's. I'm really hoping that pans out. We're trying to do a special episode with Battle for Middleearth, like we talked about, some gameplay and fun footage of that, and it's good. I had a lot of fun playing with just my friend, our other guest. I'm not going to drop names right now, but it's
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good competition. Are you scared as being 2v2 versus the man himself?
Okay, I wasn't scared until I played against Carson. And like our first practice game, you guys were having connection issues. And I played against Carson, and shout outs to him because I know he's going to listen to this. And holy shit, Carson, get good because
Oh my
we need to win this
God.
shit, dude.
You're gonna call the poor man out when he's not even
I
here to
stumped
defend
him in,
himself.
dude, I stopped him in like 15 minutes. And like, I was playing a faction that I don't normally play. I didn't know any hotkeys. I didn't really know how to like utilize the kits that each faction is given. I mostly play a couple of specific factions. I'm not going to give them away because I know
No, I don't want to give away
you'll-
my two either.
you'll,
So
you'll still on that, but yeah. So I was playing someone totally different, and he just like, man, he started building units first before he even started farming, and so it was rough. I'll have to coach him some if he ever gets time.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm a little scared. And then I subsequently played right after your friend Hung. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Hung.
Hong.
And he was good. And I was about to beat him, and he kind of like forfeit because he had to go do schoolwork, which is totally acceptable. But he was like, I think we were pretty even. I was like, no, dude, I was just about to stomp your base, but whatever. But yeah, I'm a little scared because I'm super rusty, and Carson seems to be more rusty.
No, I'm gonna have to see how that pans out later. It'll
Yeah.
it'll be uploaded on our YouTube, and you'll see it on your Facebook if you guys are ever curious. We're
It'll be
hoping
exciting.
to have that out soon, but look forward for that original content. That's not a talk
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, and it's like a fucking old game that I actually never played the second one because my E-Machine, my like 2004 E-Machine as grown up would not play the second one. It would play the first one. And so I played the hell out of it. But the second one's a lot harder and actually more RTS and very much more strategic and not very, I don't know. Like the first one, you can kind of just like camp out in your base and be a little bitch. But there is no walls that you spawn right off the bat, and actually walls are like super worthless. Like I started pouring resources into walls when I first started playing the second one, and I was just like, this is a joke. You pour so many resources into them and they don't do anything. So, the Donald Trump idea didn't work out for me.
Oh my god. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Actually, Hong and I kind of had a strategy like that too, and it was pretty fun. I was like, oh, this is actually
Really,
pretty cool.
I'd love to see the walls. I'd love to see utilize them because I had a hard time utilizing them against the computer, which I mean, who knows? But yeah, I had a hard time with the walls building them.
Well, what level
They're not
did
worth
you?
much.
What level did you have the bots on?
I
Or
always
V-bot?
play on hard.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't quite gone up to extreme yet, but I've been stomping the hard ones pretty good. So I'm trying to play against different factions because I don't know what you guys are gonna plop out, especially with your goblin bullshit that we were trying to do good versus evil, and he was supposed to be good, and Tyler was like trying to select goblins, so I was a little tilted off that. But
What? I was just trying to make sure it was working first. I'm just picking random
Right.
shit.
right, yeah,
I'm just
right,
trying to
right.
scare you with my goblin strategy, but you wanted to put me on heroes to cripple me. It's okay. It's whatever.
Nah, it's all right, dude. The goblins are worthless anyways. Come at me.
I was, but then you were too scared, and you're like, "Oh, stay in your lane,
yeah,
Tyler.
yeah.
I don't want to
I'm
play
too
against your
scared.
goblins, Tyler."
I'm too scared. I have connection issues. I can't play right now.
Yeah, all the connection issues are gone, so we'll see how many excuses you have later on when we have that match.
My excuse will not be myself, even if I play bad.
Anyways, so
Yeah.
so like we said, watch out for that original content. Speaking of original content, I didn't really know what you were saying when we were talking about this earlier. But you said that what you do in segment. Woo! You said that you wouldn't have too much time editing. Is that what you were saying because of the job, or you hope to not have it? Can you explain that to me?
Okay, so let me put it this way. I don't know what it is. I'm kind of like totally awkward socially, but when it comes to like interviews and like getting jobs, like I kill every interview. And I honestly can't explain it myself. Like I have the answers. I'm quick in that I can come up with things, and I have a really good memory. So when someone asks me a question, it's just like, hey, I have a good quip that I can put in here that'll make me look good, and it's a really strong skill set that I feel like I have. So if there's any chance of like, if there's no one more qualified that doesn't want like a ludicrous amount of money, they might get it just off of that. But as far as interviews go, like if I'm the same qualified as everyone else, I'm gonna get the job because I just interview like a boss. And any job that I've been able to get, I've gotten off the interview. So I'm really confident there. And like the first thing that she said when I got in there was, we really like your qualifications, and it looks like you really know what's going on. And it's like, oh yeah, well that puts me a leg up because I interview great and I have that going for me. They did have other interview candidates. I think they emailed me like an off time once, so I knew that they had other interviews coming in because they sent me another interview time that they were doing later that day. And I had to clarify that, like, hey, no, really, our interviews at this time that we talked about. And they're like, yeah. So I know they had other candidates, and they're always asking me, like, are you in town? You're in town, right? So I'm in town. I'm really close. I can start at any time since I'm unemployed, which is a benefit in this instance, and I'm qualified and I interview great. So I'm really hoping to get a call back and get that job. If it always feels good to at least go to the interview. I landed a job in Idaho off the interview, and it was just not a good job, not what I wanted. They were like really trying to snipe me on pay. It was really far out of any sort of civilization. It's out in, the depths of Idaho. And they were a really good organization, It's actually northern Idaho, so far away from the potatoes. But they're a good organization, but they're just like too far out, too little offered. Like, and then they also, like, when I asked them, and it's a salary job, and it's a reasonable question to be like, hey, is it gonna be like 50 hours? And they were like, yeah, it's gonna be like 45 to 50 hours every week. and the pay was
Whoa.
like subpar, and it was like I can take subpar pay with the idea of getting experience and moving up in the world, but subpar pay plus a ton of hours, plus moving up into Nowheresville it just mounted up to be too much. So
Yeah, that's a lot of
but
mandatory overtime.
yeah, yeah. So I'm hoping for this one. I really liked the people that were there. They seemed really cool to work with. Um, I'm hoping I land that, but I was actually hoping for a callback that day after the other interview. I haven't got it yet, but I'm hoping for it. Um, Other than that, my computer's GPU is shipped off. It's gonna be fixed, but I did get a black screen crash. I did have an overclock on. That's not. I don't know. I stress tested it for 4 hours, but that's obviously not enough, and
Mm.
I need to figure out if it's other hardware issues. I think that's the hardest thing with figuring out my computer's issue because I certainly believe that there's more than one hardware issue, and the GPU is plainly one, but I think there's another hardware issue somewhere, whether it's my processor or my RAM. I'm really not sure at this point.
Yeah, that's hard. We don't have the equipment, well, at least normal people, to just bench test
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I mean, I can't just sit here and pull, several processors and, another RAM stick or another motherboard to test it. So it's been a process of elimination and along with that, like I said, the constant crashes have like completely fucked that Windows, so I'm not ruling that out either.
Right.
Like once I get my GPU back, I'm gonna reinstall Windows, and I mean that really could have been the problem with the crashes. It's really fucked up on that computer. So
Yeah, I mean it's like you said, it's really hard to say. And the worst part is if you tried to have someone say it for you, it's going to be just hundreds of dollars to test. I mean, I think it's better to go this route. Warranty literally everything you can and then go from there because that's what warranty is for.
yeah, and shout out to Asus because they've been warranting my products. It's been a process, but they've been doing their due diligence and at least fixing what they can. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Asus.
Yeah, so what you been up to, man?
I've just been racking my brain thinking. It feels like I've gone through like a million things, but not really. It hasn't been. I have been doing training at work because we have a few new people, so I've just been going through that, getting that process ready.
Oh, so you're training other people.
Yeah, I kind of picked up the training role on our team as like my kind of like what's the word? Like my I can't think of the word. When I was basically trying to promote myself as a full-time employee because I was a contractor at first, I was like, "Hey, if you elect me full-time, I will be really good at this." And it worked somehow. So I'm like, "Oh, now I have to do this role actually."
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. You talk yourself into the work, and that's what I was doing. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
So,
I won't get
it's
too far into myself.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's good. We have another person in 2 weeks, but I'm about to go on vacation here Wednesday. Shout outs to vacation. So I'm excited for that.
Damn, you get vacation time, dude. It's not that I don't get vacation time. It's just like in the industry that I'm in, the throughput needs to be there. And
Yeah.
so it's not like we get like the days that you count, but they're kind of like, no, you can't really take like a week off because we need you here.
That's really hard. I mean, I don't even know how you can. I don't know how you can regulate that because that kind of was what it was like when I was in Montana doing some just normal electronic work there. It was kind of like, well, you have to work a year first as a full-time employee, and then we'll give you like a week or so. But then it's kind of like, oh, you can't take off like a ton of time at once because then you don't have anyone here.
Yeah, it's something.
But it's a little bit better now. I like being in a corporate environment as much as it's kind of like a little bit more up. What's the word? A little bit more professional. I can't think of the word, but it's just more professional. It's not as like laid back as like small time work. So.
Yeah, there you go.
But,
yeah, it's better to describe the other work. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a lot more up front, and you got to do all the bells and whistles of it all, and it's not so laid back. I've had a little bit of experience with that. I haven't quite gotten to the professional field, but I can definitely speak to the less professional
Yeah,
parts of our jobs.
I know. It's, you know, there's fun unprofessional, and then there's just like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore unprofessional. It's very, very hit or miss.
Yep.
So
Other than your job, yeah. Give me something other than work, man.
I've just been playing video games when I can. It's just weird. I feel like there is something like big, but I don't think there really has been. I went out last night for a friend's birthday. It was pretty fun. Tequila.
Tequila.
I'm watching my dog because my mom is gone, so I'm watching the other dog. And
Sorry.
I was just saying, and my cats are like attacking him. So I locked him in the room with me because I feel like he'd just get destroyed out there.
Yeah. Hey, tell me about that convention you went to, because we never talked about it on personals or on the stream. I didn't really hear much about it.
Well, what?
Didn't you go to like some convention? You had a Naruto headband and stuff, man.
Oh no, I got that from my friend's wedding a while ago.
You just wore it for fun? I thought
Yeah.
you were going to like something.
I am. That's what vacation is on Wednesday.
See, there we go.
Yeah, we're going to Seattle, and I'm going to SakuraCon, like my 5th year in a row or 4th year in a row, something like that. So.
Dang. Well, for the people who don't know, aka me, what's SakuraCon?
Yeah, it's like the Pacific Northwest biggest anime convention. It's like within the top 10, top 8 biggest conventions in America. With obviously, I think Anime Expo probably being the biggest in Los Angeles. But I just picked it for the location. I really like Seattle. There's one that's closer to me in Chicago that's a little bit bigger, but Seattle, you got like the nice water life. I still have family that's up there, and it's just fun to hang out with. It's a little bit safer. You can walk around at night, like party, and then the people there are just great. Shout outs to the whatever it is, Pacific Northwest Asian culture team thing. The people that are linked to Japan and bringing their culture over to America. It's a big kind of group. I think it's called ANCEA. And they put on SakuraCon and a bunch of other stuff all the time. I just don't live in the area, so I don't go all the time, obviously. But SakuraCon's a lot of fun. Washington State Convention Center. It's huge. It's just really cool. They have a garden area. It's 24/7, so they still have like stuff going on through 3, 4 a.m.
What?
They're like,
what do they have at 3, 4 a.m. though? I mean, it's always not the main events. Like, what kind of like stuff do you get into at 3 in the morning?
Yeah, so it's really weird. It doesn't have a ton of main events. Like, it'll have like a main event in my explanation is more like an AMV contest. Like, people upload AMVs and stuff and do a contest for it. Do you know what AMV is?
What? No.
Okay, sorry. No. AMV is like an anime music video, so it's like a music video using like anime, basically. So people have those. There's a contest for that. There's like cosplay chess, which is literally chess, but with like everyone dressed up in cosplay, and you have to like battle each other when you like kill the other person. And then they have like normal things like photo shoots and then a big concert. So like they have like big things, but most of it's just small panels that everyone just kind of does and hosts themselves. And panels can go all the way until like, I think there's a little break between like maybe 4 to 6 a.m. And then they have about 4 or 5 theater rooms where they'll be running nonstop like full anime episodes, seasons, English, Japanese. They do debut movies that come out in Japan. So it's at like 1 a.m. here. And then they have like a karaoke room, like a 24/7 manga library you can go to and just read. And it's pretty cool. Then they have like a dance every single night that stops at like 2 a.m. like stuff. So it's pretty fun.
Right, so give me this, man. I've been dabbling. I've always been into like the actual anime, scene as much as a white urban person could be in Montana.
Right.
But it's been hard for me to get into manga, especially the barrier of entry of costs and being unemployed and et cetera, paying for school and stuff. What's the manga that I should pick up, man? Like, what's something that's not on anime that I should like get into?
That's hard.
Too on the spot.
It's just basically comes down to the fact that for manga, it's more than likely a manga will become a anime. So it's like I'm trying to look up one of mine real quick that I really like, but I just don't know if it. I think
mean,
it
even
had
if it's
an
not a
anime.
even if it's not a widespread anime, just give it to me, man.
Everyone loves No Game, No Life, which is about a brother and younger sister. Do you know that one?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't really know it, but I've heard of it.
From what I remember, the anime is very short, but the actual like light novels is what they're called, like short stories themselves, are actually pretty decently long. So that's a good one that people say to actually read versus watch.
Yeah, and the more I get into it, the people say like, a lot of the anime has been like one season at most, and it's kind of like a advert for the light novels. So
which makes sense.
That's a good one.
It happens that way. Basically, you can read anything you want in manga. It's just like it'll be way farther than the anime, and sometimes it'll keep going when the anime ends.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Cool. But that's it. I don't really know what I want to talk about first. We were going over earlier this really long discussion about audiophilia. Audiophilia, I think is technically the term.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Love of audio.
Yeah. And we were basically digging into what you were saying is what true res audio, which is essentially like the
high resolution. Yeah.
Yes,
like,
high resolution. Yep.
And I'm not talking like your CD lossless bullshit that a lot of people put out as high resolution. I mean, CD's quality is fairly low. I mean, it's not very good. And I'm talking about like 24-bit, 192 kilohertz, like high quality music that's like basically what it's recorded in. Some other people call files like there's some DAC files that are essentially closer to the record files, but they're a little harder to get players for. But realistically, you can get some high quality FLAC files that really do the job, and they sound just as good as a record in my opinion. And well, I mean, without having to buy, a giant Black Widow, tone arm or some ridiculous needle that you have to get and a nice turntable, and you can just get a little player. Or hell, you can even just play it on your PC if you have some decent components and a solid sound card. You can output audio with that, and I'm telling you, man, it's fantastically sounding, but it's being cut out. And what I actually want to talk about too is the stream arguments of streaming on it. I mean, streaming audio has been the way, and it's gonna be hard for high res to hit that. And I have a fucking hard time listening to low res music just because it sounds so grainy.
Define brainy. I haven't
grainy.
Heard. Grainy. Okay,
like,
I was gonna say.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like it's really hard to describe, but like, let me put it this way: when you listen to high res audio, there's depth to it, know, and you can like almost pick out where the instruments are and what's going on with each instrument, and you can hear the little nuances with each voice inflection and each little part of that. So it kind of gets cut out when you can condense, and a part of that, especially when you condense, so much of the audio gets put on the same dynamic range. And what that means is a loud volume. If you listen to like a Pink Floyd album, when something's loud, it's loud, and when something's quiet, it's quiet. But when you condense, it actually just puts all those on the same lines, and everything sounds the same volume. And that's really where you get the definition, and that's really what high-res audio can provide for you.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's kind of like in my instance, which no one's ever going to relate to. It kind of comes to quantum computers for me, because when you think about traditional computing, you're thinking about just the 0 and 1s that have to statically trigger side by side. But with Quantum, it just kind of lets them go in whatever arrangement that they actually want. If it wants to be 011 it can do that while existing in other platforms. It's basically like the concept of like 3D. It's like 3D. It's actually able to incorporate all the space that it wants, or as little space that it wants at the same time, basically.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, really, it's something that just really enhances the music. And the worst part about it is once you hear it, and once you hear how good it sounds, the other stuff sounds like grainy and almost like harsh. You know, like it sounds like, oh, like this almost kind of like hurts my ears, because it's that condensation of the music really cuts off a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. I guess the question for me, which is something that I guess I've kind of like, I don't know about argued, but discussed about with other people before, comes down to, is it better for someone that wants to go out and listen to good music to try and just find the highest quality samples possible with their normal equipment, or is it better to upgrade your equipment first and then eventually seek better samples?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is something that I've preached for a long time. Like, you have to start at the source. So, right, like when I built my stereo, the first thing that you get is a solid source of music, which I'm talking about high resolution. Like, once you get the source, then you got to get the power. Then you have the power, you get a decent amplifier, and then you worry about the speakers. You know, I know a lot of people that'll preach like, just get the best fucking speakers you can.
No.
And don't worry about the rest. But I completely disagree with that. Like,
It's the amplifier.
You have to get a solid source before the amplifier.
Well, yeah.
Like I mean, like a solid source of the music is really where the sound comes from. And I've been so satisfied once I got my high-res player that it kicked the shit. I had a CD player before. I had a pretty good CD player before I got my high-res player. And the second I got my high-res player, it was like, this fucking is destroying my CD player, and I'm ready to just throw it out the window and just get rid of it.
The thing that I don't know about, because I personally have done a lot of dabbling in audio engineering, so like not necessarily the creation of the files, but how we basically play them. Is that the way that drivers are created is just so unequal with their range and frequencies and everything, to the point where, look, more than likely you're going to be spending a couple hundreds of dollars into speakers that might technically be a little bit outside of what you personally can hear. It's always better for me to, if we're talking about the end game, find something that, when equipped on your specific person, works best for how you are. Which is why you have all those companies that are selling the devices that are like, oh, these are like really good, like in your ear speakers, but then we have like this app and it'll like tune itself to what you like can hear, what you can note better, because everyone's different. That's just kind of how it goes. But at the same time, there's just some headphones that just don't have that range. And to me, I feel like you'd get a huge improvement overall just swapping with speakers per se, but like headphones or whatever, to at least a better pair and see if that has any effect. Because I know that if you have crappy source, it's going to be crappy in the first place. But it's kind of like chicken or the egg. What technically comes first? Because the thing that you're going to hear is just here. So it comes from your ears and then it goes out. So it's your ears are basically going to here, then it goes to there, and then there. But it's both right. They're both right, technically.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to headphones, it's a little bit different, because headphones are a lot, let me put it this way, they're a lot cheaper than like a home stereo system.
Yeah.
So it's a little easier to say like, well, I could invest in all this audio equipment, but if I just buy a good set of headphones and put some dog shit through them, like, it'll sound better than that for cheaper. And that's like true. That's 100% true for the climate that we're in. Like, what I was talking about was YouTube's amping up their AdSense for music listeners, and Spotify is like a paid service too. But any paid service that you'll get for streaming, any CDs that you buy, anything like that doesn't meet the source requirements that I'm talking about. And so unless you're willing to invest in actual high-res files, then that argument goes out the window. And that's kind of been the problem, is that the record companies have shut out the high-res files and locked them behind large paywalls and et cetera, et cetera. So really what we're talking about is essentially saying, like, well, there is no like solid source for it, so you might as well get some good speakers. And I think that's a reasonable argument for headphone users. I do.
So, what about the idea of I don't know the technical term for it in the outer world, but like the idea of upscaling, essentially. So we do have like technology, software, and actually hardware-wise for the amplifiers that can technically take source and increase it to make it better to your ears. I mean, does that not have merit by itself?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like a sound card or just like an external amplifier for something.
Yeah, but like one of the ones that has like all those like millions of like little words like HQPT audio, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, those things can boost to some extent that, but you're not going to get rid of the graininess. You might actually get some of that dynamic range back. So your high highs and your low lows might sound more distinct, and you might be able to hear the difference between when Tyler the Creator drops a loud ass beat and when he drops like a quiet beat that is meant to like enthuse you. But really, you're not changing a lot. It sounds so much the same, and it has that. I don't know how else to describe it other than like grainy. Like if you're looking at a picture quality and it looks like grainy, like that's really what I'm talking about. Like just in your ears.
Mm-hmm.
So none of the software is just gonna fix that. There's nothing that's gonna change the way that it's been compressed, and really it's because of the level of compression, right? Like if you look at the graphs of how uncompressed these FLAC files I'm talking about are.
Yep.
Like they're on the order of something like 6 times less compressed than a CD player. And there's no way that you're gonna even do that with a CD quality file, let alone the MP3s, which is like something like 12 times. Like a lot of low MP3 files are about half of a CD compression. So yeah, you can get improvements and you can hear some more dynamic range, but you're not going to get rid of the graininess, and you're not going to get rid of the really power that you can get out of the power and clarity that you can get out of the high-res files.
So I say so a lot. When Carson was here, converted our audio version, obviously for the iTunes upload for the podcast, and the format that I use is I normally convert it to FLAC, and I'm just like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then when we uploaded it, he said, "Oh, I usually just do it to WAV." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I can just make it straight to WAV instead. That's totally fine." And when I went and swapped it to WAV, it was an increase of like 700 megabytes. It ended up being like 1.2 gigs versus FLAC was like 400 or 500 megabytes.
Yeah, that's the file type, though. I mean,
but the question is what's happening though? Because we're technically trying to switch it. We're trying to. I mean, I use a program that does everything. It doesn't just convert the file type. It's supposed to, hypothetically. It's that Chinese program that gave me 1 million viruses. I basically use that still, but what are we doing when we're converting these files? Like, what is it supposed? It's supposed to be uncompressing them hypothetically. So what is all the space that we're finding?
Okay, but you're talking about the difference between WAV, which is Windows Audio. What is that? Windows Audio something. And the Windows Audio format, the WAV format, is like really bad at what it does, and therefore it creates a larger file size because it doesn't have a solid foundation of how to make audio well. Right. FLAC files are fantastic, but you have to. What I'm talking about is like 24-bit 192 kilohertz, which is garbage speak for saying
yes,
really high quality audio. And yeah, those files are going to be huge. But if you converted like a really high resolution FLAC file into WAV, it's going to be larger because WAV is not a good format.
Well, and I guess
If
for
that makes
the
sense.
it does. So extensions aside, even if I put the same file into my program and still kept it the same output, the file would increase at some point. So like what is actually happening? I mean, are we saying that there is a way to go back when these companies have converted it so much and compressed it so much, or is it just literally creating dead space?
Yeah, no. When you convert things and when you change things consistently, like it actually, the more you copy something and the more you alter it, the less compress or the more compressed and the more distorted it gets. The more that's a good word. Distortion is what you get a lot out of that. And so, really, what I'm talking about is something that's an uncompressed file that's stored and processed by the record companies, which is what they actually record in. So they record in these high resolution files. So yeah, the more you compress it, the more you change it, the more you copy it, and the more you mess with it, the bigger it's gonna get, and the more. Well, I mean, if you're compressing it, it's not gonna get bigger. But the more you mess with it, the more hiccups it's gonna have. Let me put it that way.
But we're going off the assumption that they're taking the high quality files and they're compressing it into a specific format and then sending it out to us, right?
Yeah.
So why doesn't the rule of compression work in this instance, where if I put something in a zip file, I can just unzip it and still extract it to the same quality? Like, why can't we? I don't know if upscaling is the right word, but at this point, like, why can't we do that with these audio files? Not that I should know how this works, but I don't.
Right.
So.
I haven't heard about any like uncompression actually being. I mean, what I'm thinking about is a program that uncompresses on a real time basis. You know what I'm saying? So that's not really going to be the same as if you unzipped a file in your computer. Maybe there's someone that could reverse engineer a program that uncompresses the CD files to a reasonable high resolution file.
Right.
And that would be totally I would believe that, But someone saying that they can just uncompress it on the fly as the music's playing.
Oh yeah, no.
Definitely I don't think that's gonna work,
But I mean, to be fair, video does do live encoding, which does uncompress, what we see on the screen and what we see on outputs.
Right. But what do you see when you go on Netflix? Okay, what's the biggest argument for Blu-rays versus high resolution Netflix? Do you know?
I actually don't.
It's the dynamic range of the actual video.
Oh,
so
yes.
If you know what HDR is,
yeah.
So it's the dynamic range of the video plus the audio quality, because on Blu-rays they do use 192 kilohertz FLAC files, 24-bit, and if you listen to any Blu-ray, they sound so much better, and that's because they're using uncompressed, unencoded audio that doesn't have these issues. You get higher dynamic range and you get higher resolution. And that's just the fact of streaming can't match the bandwidth with that right now. And it's just not the way it works with audio. And I don't know the technical arguments for it. I just know that when I hear it and when I watch a Netflix show versus my Blu-rays, I can tell you that they're both the same resolution as far as the screen goes, but the dynamic range and the color quality and the picture quality just aren't there.
Yeah, I understand. I guess I just want to know what happens when I put this file into this program and I check all the boxes to make it like the max quality I possibly can, and it gives me a bigger file. Like I want to know what are these programs doing, and is this even possible for us as consumers? Can we take technically, FLAC is Apple, right?
No, FLAC is free lossless something.
What's the
free
Apple?
Lossless
What's the
audio,
Apple?
Free lossless audio coding is what I want to say.
I know that there's an Apple one. I just forget what Apple calls it.
The Apple one is out there. I don't know what it's called, but FLAC is an open source audio.
Oh, I think it's just AAC, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds right. AAC.
because I bought this album off of iTunes. Yeah, which is AC for them is 256 kilobytes, 44.1 kilohertz. Yeah, I mean, Apple used to talk about how they were charging more because they were doing like 129 single because they were gonna have like upper level quality on all their songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and their upper level is like CD lossless, which is upper for what you're talking about,
but still not the. It's like the upper middle class essentially.
If that, yeah.
What, you don't even consider that middle class? What?
That actually makes that's a good analogy.
Okay, I was gonna say.
No, that's a great analogy because what we're talking about is the difference between the upper middle class and the top 1%. And we can get the top 1%, and they record in the top 1%, and they have the files for the top 1%, but they're hiding them behind paywalls of $25 an album versus, $6 that I can get at Best Buy for a CD.
So, what do you think about, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, what do you think about WuTang Clan, who had, that last really high-quality album that they came out with or whatever, they had like 10 copies and they locked it behind.
Skrelly bought?
Yeah, that's Skrelly bought. Yeah, no, that's the one that Skrelly bought.
Yeah.
I thought there was he has like the only one in existence, I believe, but they ended up stripping it away. They ended up stripping it away from him, and he said he was going to like upload it online and stuff. But what do you think about like that? Because that's a example of kind of the opposite. It's not the studios keeping it away from us. It's the artists trying to make a ton of money off of something that, albeit being rare, is probably extremely nice quality and masterful for your ears in the first place. But we're never going to get to hear it, or we will, it'll be lower quality in the first place.
There's a lot of debate about that album, though. I mean, a lot of people have said that it was really just some off recordings that they ended up putting into an album. So I mean, we don't know on that one. But yeah, as far as artists plopping things behind paywalls, I think that's pretty shitty too. But I don't think it's as bad because they're the creators of it, and they're not just the harbingers of it. I mean, like I said, dude. And this is actually the Beatles doing this. No, actually, I'm gonna fucking rip into the Beatles right now. Their Sgt. Pepper's album on high resolution is $10 more. That's a 50% increase compared to most high res albums. Mm-hmm. It's 50% more expensive just because it's the fucking Beatles. Like, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
where'd you find that on?
It's on HD Tracks.
Okay, so you just buy it and it's supposed to be the perfect quality and then it downloads it?
Yeah, it's a FLAC file. You can buy it from HD Tracks. They sell most of the high-res music I buy nowadays, mostly because Neil Young's site was Neil Young had a site that was running shit on sale all the time for like $10-15 an album, and I bought a whole ton while it was there, but it's gone now because Apple actually bought his distributing company through third parties and shorted him out. So that's gone. So HD Tracks is one of the best places to buy it. Onkyo website's pretty decent to buy high-res files too. And there's one other one that I always forget.
I'll have to do that, look into one of those and just basically do like a listening of both, like a normal quality that I can get from Apple, and then I'll try and find one there and just see what the difference actually is.
I have multiple files. Like I have multiple albums that if I can find a way to send them to you, I can, because they're far superior. And if you listen to it, you'll hear the difference. So when people say, you don't hear the difference, and then they say, well, the Blu-rays sound so fucking great. The Blu-rays sound fantastic. And that's why I want to buy Blu-rays. That was a huge argument for the Blu-rays when they came out. And I know a lot of people that told me that. And then you go in the same breath and say, oh, those music files that are the same format as Blu-rays.
Right.
They're the same quality. No, those aren't worth it. Those aren't good enough. And it's like, how can you say that you don't hear the difference when you talk about how great Blu-rays sound? So that's where it is.
I think
that's my.
Oh, sorry. You can finish. I'm sorry.
Please
finish.
That was my finishing move, man.
Nice orgasm, my friend. But I think it comes down to this that we talked a little bit about, where you know this because you have listened to it. and like 89% of the population has not listened to it, and they're not going to know, and they're not going to even probably tell a difference, and they're probably not going to tell a difference right away. At least it'll take a little bit, and then their ears will adjust, and then they'll be ruined, as you say, for the rest of your life.
Yeah. No, I mean seriously, if you listen to them and then you go, the thing is that it's so much easier to transition into listening to something that's good. It's so much easier to look at your high definition TV and be like, yeah, I mean that looks better. And then you go back and watch your 4:3 tube TV that has 480p resolution and you go, "Oh my god, what was I looking at, before?" So you don't know what you got until you got it in your hands, and when you see it, when you hear it, you know the difference, and it's hard to go back. But I think that argument of people, the argument that we shouldn't do it because, well, someone's gonna listen to it, and then they'll only notice if they have it and then they see it. It's like that's dumb as fuck. Like you're just arguing against progression because people don't know any better. Like it's like, oh, people are so stupid. They don't believe that they can hear these files. They don't believe that they can see 1080p.
Right.
And I think that's putting people in the dirt, and it's not helping them out. We should lift people up.
Well,
yeah,
we should lift each other up and not the companies. But
yeah.
It is what it is. Change has to start from a lot of different levels in this situation.
I know, but I mean, I feel like it's what I was bringing up with the streaming portion of it is that I don't think it's gonna come around. People aren't buying physical copies. Best Buy just ditched CDs. People don't buy individual albums or even hardly songs anymore, and it's switching over to the streaming platforms. And it's going to be hard to get streaming platforms to switch to HD music because the bandwidth requirements and the encoding that comes along with that is extreme. It's Netflix levels of that shit, and it's going to be really hard to do. And that's what's really holding us back is that all power to the people. Go and stream your music and have fun with it, but when you want to sit down and listen to something on your stereo or on like a solid piece of headphones, you're getting the crap quality because you're listening to streaming music.
Are you saying that even beats would sound better if you listen to high quality music?
Yeah, I'm saying that even the cancer that are Dre's Beats headphones would sound better.
That's a bombshell. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
If you buy Dre's Beats, I feel bad for you, man.
Because I got 99 problems, but Beats headphones aren't one.
Yeah. Oof. Those headphones. That's a great transition. Let's talk about headphones.
So I have been recently looking into just headphones in general because the only headphones that I actually have that are good I have this pair of Apple headphones, but they're lightning cable, so I'm like, I can't use them because I switched from my iPhone recently. And so I'm like, okay, the only headphones I can use is Samsung ones came with my phone, but they're okay, but I have this issue where I think my ear canals are just really messed up. So I could just never for the longest time get in-ear headphones to basically just work, period. And I have been doing research. I've been trying to find, like, Audio-Technica has a pair that, like, just sit in your ears and they go around. So they have a little hook to keep them in a little bit. And I'm, like, trying to find something that, like, more is secure that might at least work a little bit better. But
right.
I just couldn't for the longest time. I mean, I have these, but I don't really use these much outside of, like, normal things because, A, they're flat,
Right.
and B, they suck to wear on, like, planes.
So I get more what you're saying. You're talking about earbuds versus headphones.
Well, I was looking for everything in general, but I don't want another pair of actual headphones, like over-ear headphones, or even on here because it's like sucks when you're like on a plane or something. I always just like try to like sleep my head on the thingy, and then it vibrates through it, and then it just sucks.
Yeah, no, I feel those sentiments, and as far as those go, I don't know if I've heard of any earbuds that actually like do the trick. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, there could be some out there, but I feel like for earbuds, it's so hard to engineer something gonna be that small with some high quality. I haven't heard any. I bought some. I spent a whole bunch of money in high school on the what are they called? Skull candies.
Yeah.
I bought some high end skull candies, and they were better, but I don't know if they were like good enough.
So I was when we were doing the Lord of the Rings recording. I was at my friend's place, and I was trying to get her headphones to work with the computer. It just wasn't working, but she has Bose, I believe, QC35s. I think the wireless Bluetooth ones with noise cancellation. And they're so small, they're so light, and they actually sound really, really, really good. I was actually impressed with how just good they were. It's been a while since I've had Bose headphones.
I'm surprised at that because Bluetooth as a format is horrible at audio quality transfers.
Well, with the new way that they've been with, what is it, aptX or whatever it is, it's gotten better. Obviously, it has a cable too, so I was using that in this instance. But
okay,
I couldn't get the
that
Bluetooth
makes
to work
sense.
on my computer, dude. Windows and Bluetooth sucks so bad, but they just sounded great.
Yeah.
Like when we were trying to play the game and everything, I was like, oh, this is actually surprisingly nice. But once again, they're over the ear, so I was like, ugh.
I'd love to A/B those between the Bluetooth and the wired, just because I've heard how bad Bluetooth is, and I've like listened to some Bluetooth speakers, which obviously are bad because they're just cheap Bluetooth speakers. But I've been honestly wondering how much of a difference the Bluetooth versus the wired makes.
What do you normally use as far as headphones go?
Okay, so I had for the longest time a pair of these, which I'd highly recommend. For cheap, relatively cheap use, the Audio Technica ATH M30X professional monitor headphones.
Yeah, the M30X. Yes, I know exactly what
They are fantastic for what they do. They're $100, and really they have an equal, a solid EQ, which is just normal, and they sound fantastic. I always use wired, as you can see right now. I end up breaking those after a couple of years of use because I'm hard on headphones. And Best Buy was having a huge sale on these Corsair Voids, and I haven't been listening to a lot of music on my, on my computer, so I decided to go with something a little more gaming oriented, just to cheap out and get something with a mic. So I had a backup mic in case my Snowball fails because it has a hard time with a lot of softwares.
Right.
So that's where I'm at now, but I'm looking to get another pair of those once I have some cash flow because they are relatively cheap, and for $100, they're the best audio quality you can get, in my opinion.
So I had for the longest time the M50s. I had two.
Is that the bass boosted version? That's the $150 bass boosted version.
I think
Let me
so.
look it up.
I don't have the X. I think the X might be.
Yeah, I'm on their website right now. Give me a second.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the bass boosted version of the ones I'm talking about.
And I liked them a lot. I mean, they were decently comfortable. They compacted really well. They gave you a nice case to go with them, and I just loved the heck out of them. And when it came time to get new headphones, I had to choose between the blue Lola, I think it is. No, what is it? Blue headphones. Yeah, the Lola, I guess. Is this the Lola? Yes. So I either had to choose between blue Lola or something else. And I was going to Japan, so I wanted to grab a new set of headphones before I left. And I grabbed the blue when I was in Minnesota. This was back when I was still in Montana with you guys. And they were great, but they were just so darn uncomfortable. They have like a built-in little mini amplifier and stuff. They're completely wired. They're not wireless. They last about 12 hours.
Right now.
They're really nice. They look insane. The headband feels great, but they compact so tightly around your ears that it's just so uncomfortable. And I was like, this is the price of quality. Like I'll have to deal with it. And after trying to like wear them around my neck and stuff and hang out with them, and they're so big, I was just like, I can't. So I actually ended up returning them and getting these, which are the M70X.
Yep.
And
So Have you heard the oh, you had the 50s. How are those compared to the 50s?
So this is the thing. I bought these under the assumption knowing that I'm going to take a cut in quality because they are great. The drivers and everything in them are amazing, but they are extremely flat. That's just how they're designed. They're studio monitor headphones. They need to be as flat as possible so you can tell exactly what the sound is going to be like when it comes out. Mm-hmm. No bass or anything like that. So yeah. I ended up buying an external amp, the little tiny one that I walk around with,
right?
And they're amazing with that. Even with some of the built-in ones with like the iPhone, it was great. But I mean, by themselves, like now they're fine, they're great, they're like decently loud, but you don't really notice much until you really turn it up, basically with like an external amp. And I love them. They're expensive, but I love them. Nice little case too, but.
Yeah, I'm jealous because that sounds pretty dope. But because I like the equal EQ because I don't listen to a lot of hip hop, and when I do, I just turn up my EQ on either my computer or on my amplifier.
Right.
And so I alter the EQ that way, and the equal EQ makes me feel good. Like I really, that's why I bought the M40s over the M50s. So
I kind of wish that I would have just gotten a newer pair of the M50s. Mine are kind of just getting old. I actually ended up giving my old pair to Kyle, but because I know they have the newer ones that are like Bluetooth now or something. But I don't know. I'm happy with my choice of the M70s, and I don't use them that much because I kind of just use them when I'm doing something like on the computer and things. I just don't want to travel with them anymore. They're bulky. Like I said, they don't work well on planes, especially with no noise cancellation or anything. But every so often, I'll use everything, like the amplifier and the headphones together, and especially when I drum, I'll use them, obviously. But every so often you'll use them, and then you'll just have like a little bit of a smile. Like you'll actually like notice that they sound really good, and it's always surprising because like now it just sounds like normal. I'm talking to you, but you always forget sometimes when you wear a nice pair of headphones actually how nice it can end up sounding with your crappy quality source. We'll say.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you, man, because there really isn't a lot of good source out there, and I listen to streaming services. I listen to, YouTube and like I said, Netflix. Like the poor quality audio, you might as well just buy like some solid speakers and not worry about much else. But when you're trying to listen to an album, like I've been searching. Okay, one of the few hip hop albums that I love is Tyler the Creator's album Flower Boy, and I haven't listened to a lot of his other stuff, so don't hate on me too much.
That's fine.
But that album alone, like, is so good, and I've been searching HD tracks and Onkyo for a high-res file of it, and it just doesn't exist. And it makes me feel really sad when I put on the only version that I have, which is just like a YouTube streaming platform. It sounds so bad. I'm like, please, I'm done with it. I will pay. Give me the $25 price mark, and I will pay for that album.
Dude,
because that
go on Twitter. Go on Twitter at Tyler the Creator. Tyler, where's my details, bro? I need my high quality music.
I'm with you. I should break into my old Twitter account, which I haven't used in God knows how long, 4 years, and figure out how to message him about it, because it irks me so bad that I want that album. Like, I will pay the money. Hell, slap on the. I'll pay the premium. I'll pay the Beatles price. Give me the $35 price mark, and I will pay it for that album, because I want to hear that album on high res. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's not out there makes me want to pay that for it.
Get online, get on Reddit, r/music. Start advocating on all the sites you can. I feel like Tyler would be the type of person that would actually like respond on Twitter to something like that and be like, "Yo, homie, shut the fuck up," or something like that. But. I feel like he might actually respond.
MP3 file, bitch.
He's like, "You like me? You take my MP3 file anyways. I'm a goblin."
Yeah, I really want that. So I should break into my old Twitter account and at least shoot him a message. Hope he responds. That reminds me, my brother got a response from Riot like a while ago, complaining about Udyr. So yeah, people listen on Twitter. So.
Why am I not surprised he was talking?
Yeah, why are you not surprised?
Let me
Yeah.
guess. This is like his 75th like tweet. Like he's gone like 75 tweets just over and over again, and he finally got lucky off of one. Right, Udyr's still
It
bad.
was literally the one. It was literally the one after they dicked him after the runic echoes, and they absolutely like fucked him in the ass. And then they nerfed runic echoes in the same patch. and he was like, "This is really affecting my mental state, Riot." And they responded like, "Please be okay. Like, it's gonna be
Please,
all right."
please seek mental help and not ask us to fix a character. I'm sorry? Question mark? Like, what do you say?
I mean, but
Right.
really, Aurelia got her rework. Where's the Udyr one?
I don't know, but I'm not okay with Irelia right now because the frost one doesn't have the booty anymore. So I'm taking my
Yeah.
I'm not okay with this right now,
No booty, no life, man.
dude.
It's over.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's. So I did get I ended up picking up a pair of Sony in-ear buds. They're truly wireless, so I actually have them in my
Okay.
pocket. So they're truly wireless, so they're just these little small things.
Uh-huh.
And the case charges them and stuff. I did pick up a pair of these. I got a refurbished one because I'm not going to pay a bunch of money, like $200 for ones that are just going to fall out of my ears anyways. And I actually even looked up a YouTube video on how to properly insert in-ear headphones because I didn't know. I'm trying to make this work as hard as possible. I'm doing everything I can to make it so that these will actually stay in my ear. And
So,
no, go ahead. You're good.
so what kind of tips are you using?
So this one's actually cool. These come with like over 9 different pairs of tips. Like 4 of them are like memory foam, and then 3 of them are just like squishier rubber is what it feels like that expand more, but they're not like memory foam per se.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I had a lot of luck when I was buying those skull candy ones. That I had a lot of luck with the foam expanding ones,
Yeah.
except for they got super dirty, and like every time I cleaned them, they didn't work the same. They wouldn't like expand properly. But they were fantastic at what they did, and the fact that the longevity of using those
Yeah.
went down the drain. But I always enjoyed those. And I went out and bought some like BHT Bluetooth wireless ones just because they're on super sale on Black Friday.
Mhm.
And I was kind of like, they were advertised as, and I haven't looked into it to see what they're like, the 70s, the BHT 70s, and they were advertised as like $170 for $25 on Amazon. I didn't really believe that.
Yeah,
but
it's a China scam. It's a China thing where they
I
like
was,
yeah.
I was fairly disappointed in the sound quality. They sound like $25 earphones, which that's what I paid for.
Yes.
I wasn't complaining, but
Right.
I was hoping for more.
It's hard. I've listened to a few people's like cheaper headphones, and they're like fine for audio, but I don't know if I'd like listen to them with music like
Yeah.
all the time. And Sony does a good job with their headphones usually. I mean, they're a top brand for a reason, so I figured I'd give these a shot. I literally had a moment where they were in my ears and they didn't fall out, and I was like, and they didn't fall out, and I was just like, oh my god, I think I figured it out. They did hurt after a little bit, but I don't think I'm used to them. So give me a
How
week
do
and
they
we'll
sound,
see.
though?
They're okay. I mean, in-ear headphones always sound really fulfilling because of the fact that it's just like in your ear canal, just the tip, and you're just like, oh yeah, the audio is good. But these are okay. These lack a lot of Sony's like low bass that they normally have, and it's still like there, but it's not like as prevalent as other headphones. But the mids and highs sound really good, so I'm okay with it for wireless headphones that are super small. They're a good starter for me, I should say.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really hard when you're talking about in-ear headphones to get bass out of them because, like, let me just put it this way. My dad has a set of 15-inch woofers that produce so much bass that they're like woofers. They're not subs.
Mhm.
They're just woofers. And they produce so much bass that you wouldn't believe it because they're 15 inches.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
And like when you have like a tiny little speaker, it's damn hard to produce bass out of that. Like it's an engineering process that isn't really capable without a lot of EQ work and a lot of tricks of the trade that don't really produce what you were hoping for.
I have to grab myself another pair of Bose in-ear because back when Bose was like first like just going crazy with their headphones, my buddy brought a pair to school once, and it just had like the most bass that I've ever heard out of any in-ear. Obviously they make good stuff, but yeah, it's hard, especially with in-ear, like you said. I definitely would have picked the QC35 over ears any day of the week because they're just going to bump. That's just kind of what the size is. And the Lolas did the same thing too. I do like a good pair of over-ear headphones. I just feel like I'm getting too old for it. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I can't stand the on-ears. Let me just go on a little rant here. On-ears hurt the fuck out of my ears. Why do they make on-ear headphones? They hurt because they're always trying to stay on, and they're always right on my ear. That's the whole point, and it hurts, man. The over the ear is the only way to go for headphones that are, on top of your head.
It's footprint, that's all it comes down to, because the on ears are going to be smaller overall than over ears. To some people, that's just the trade-off worth it, and sometimes they're not like us. They don't like to listen to Neil Young's album 72 times in a row. Fucking Space Oddity by David Bowie on repeat over and over again.
Yes, kill me on that. Yeah. Dude, that's one of my high-res files for sure. Yeah, hell yeah. Are you kidding me, dude? That thing sounds like a godsend.
Hey, do you have any interrupt? Do you have Fleetwood Mac?
I do have a Fleetwood Mac.
Is it Rumors?
On high-res. It is Rumors.
Can I have it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
off stream,
yeah.
We're gonna legally transfer the file to me. So
it's legal to file share without distributing
Dope. Just dump them all on Facebook. Just upload them on Google. It'll be full quality.
They're too large to fit.
How large are the files?
They're high-res files. They're like 6 times the CD size at least.
Dude, Google will give you 20 gigs.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, dude. Your Google Drive's a ton of space. You can upload them easy.
Yeah, we can upload that Rumors for sure.
That one, I want to test it. I have Google Play Music. I want to test Google Play's extreme quality with the files. I would love to actually test that with these headphones.
Okay, so I don't have them right now. They're on my dad's. I just kind of got the Pono. My dad bought it for me because he wanted me to have it, and because he had one, and they're super cheap on eBay right now. $200 is fucking hella cheap for a high-res player, and he's loading all of his music library onto it, but I'll have it in a week, and I'll send it to you.
Sweet. A week to get the files and then a week to upload them. Sounds good.
6 years to upload.
That's what I'm just gonna expect.
It's honestly gonna be a gig and a half for an album.
That's fine. I mean, that's totally fine with me. That's honestly the way that I feel like audio should be, and that's why we are supposed to be having increase in storage on our phones in the first place. Give me that high quality audio. If 128 gigabytes is gonna be the standard in phones, and SD card support. Shout out to Samsung. So.
Yeah, I'm with you because I have 64 gigs on just the Pono alone, and it has 50 albums on it, or Dad's gonna load up 50 albums onto it, and is it
full?
Hella worth it. It's gonna be pretty full.
Yeah.
But there's SD slots. There's SD slots for sure. So
SD cards are literally a godsend. I love them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be loading that thing full of high-res tunes.
I'm gonna do. Have you ever watched what is it? The guy YouTube. His name's Unbox Therapy. I think it is.
I've heard of it. I've probably seen a video or two.
He's kind of a dick, but you should watch his videos. He does a really good quality presentation of listening to music. He does music and phones and things like that. But I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get your files. I'm gonna have a nice video of me reacting to it, and we'll upload it on the channel. We'll get some more original content on this channel. OC.
And if it doesn't live up to the quality, you can send it back to me, man.
Nah. I'm just gonna keep it. It's okay. I'm gonna burn it on a Blu-ray disc.
Oh, dude, that's what I'm saying. Is you were talking about physical media, and I was like, whatever. Make me a high-res CD player, if you want to fucking go down that route. But at the very least, just release it. The CDs can't hold it. Make me a Blu-ray player that'll just do audio, and they'll just do that. That's fine with me, but the only way I can get my hands on the files right now is just putting on my hard drive. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna take.
that's the issue. But that's not actually. I think that's okay. That's not necessarily an issue. I'm okay with having the files come as a file versus like physical media at the start.
Yep. All right.
Let's wrap it up, my friend.
Yeah, I feel like we covered it.
Dude, we did it. This is pretty decent. This is gonna be. I'm gonna title this like the audio only podcast, and people are gonna be like, oh, it's just gonna be audio, and then on YouTube, and then they're gonna be like, oh no, it's not just audio. These guys are just these guys are just literally mentally challenged, but that's okay.
Yeah. Good.
Give me some social medias, Jimmy. Yours and the podcast.
Hey man, hit us up at twitch.tv/guagdiggly for my streaming platform. Hopefully I'll be doing something there soon. Hit us up at our Facebook, Hot Garbage Podcast. Hit us up at our YouTube channel. Our Twitch has kind of gone off the rails because no one watches it, but hit us up on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Hot Garbage Podcast as well. Hit us up at the iTunes and hit us up at Podbean. I don't know the links for those, but
I think it's just Hot Garbage Podcast, yeah.
Yeah, you know where they are. They're on the Facebook page. Hit us up there first. Hit us up with the comments. Tell us what you want to hear about. Tell us what you want to hear our sexy voices talk about next.
Cuck Boy shout out to Panic at the Disco that's having a new album come out soon. I Will Always Love You.
Put it on high res.
Brendan Urie, if you can hear me, put this on high res or else I'm gonna literally stab you. You heard it here first. Jimmy Reinschmidt is willing to stab people for high resolution audio.
Maybe someone for Tyler the Creator. I wouldn't stab him, but I might stab someone for that album.
You heard it here first, Tyler the Creator. If Jimmy tweets you, he's just gonna stab you if you say no.
Not you. But I would potentially kill someone for that album on high res.
All right.
Someone of not worth. Not really.
Okay, studio executive that has to bring coffee to people because you're just actually an intern. You better watch your backs because Jimmy's going to be coming for you if he doesn't get high quality audio. And that is it. Yeah. Jimmy Reinschmidt, thank you for joining me once again. I am Tyler Katzman, as always, flopping things around, names at the end. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
She's only cute, and this selfish, shallow piece of shit inside of her makes her ugly as sin. Time and time again, I've given her a chance. It almost believed that there was a human inside of her that really fucking cared, but I asked for too much, invested in a hollow, empty shell, the kind that gets filled with superficial trash. Not a soul, no heart, my friend. Trapper